things, you know.
Now, wait a minute. So I know you like watching TV on your laptop rather than the television.
I do.
With Boomerang coming to the Apple TV, is that going to be a problem?
Well, monitors and TVs are almost interchangeable now, so if anyone gives me crap about that, I'll throw cards in their face, because I'm a magician. And that's what we do.
Hey, so what's up on the next Modern Rogue?
So the next Modern Rogue, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going to a donut shop, and I'm going to be eating 12 donuts in under a minute. And it's going
12 donuts in under a minute?
Yeah, only Rogue.
That's impossible.
You'll find out on Modern Rogue.
All right, bye, Pilot X.
All right, this is too good. Start the show.
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you, my friends, have the information you need to be able to watch what you want, whatever, when, all those things. Whatever. I don't know why I just messed that up so badly.
Tom Merritt, listen, I'm not going to pretend I was stone sober all of Nerdtacular, but I really don't remember.
Where are you what? Whatever device you want.
No. I was going to say, I don't remember shooting that episode of Cordkillers with you.
Oh, no. This was, remember, you and Will were going to take the chairlift down. Yeah. And I took the tram down with Rob. Yeah. And then when I got down, I ran into you, and you had done your hair up the way you used to, which I thought was, that was weird the way he did that on the chairlift. But then we did that little bit.
Yeah, and then you also noticed I was like 15 years younger and female, and my name was Viking Lass.
And April.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, if you guys missed it, Hot Dog was Nerdtacular a good time. That was Viking Lass, a.k.a. April Ness, cosplaying as yours truly, pretending to be Brian Brushwood. All too well. At some point I turned to her and said, "Look at me. I'm your future."
The ghost of future.
Yeah.
The ghost of Brian Brushwood future. So we did that little Periscope, and then if you hunt down Ms. Ashley Paramore's Fake Gamer Girl Twitch channel, you'll find a whole lot of impressions going on.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a thing, but not as big of a thing as the primary target, right?
That's true. So what our cord-killing chefs have prepared for you today is a couple of stabs at figuring out how to please cord cutters by networks. In fact, we've got 4 ways, sort of. AMC is coming out with something we've mentioned on the show before because it was rumored, but now it's official. AMC Premiere. So they'll start offering it to Comcast pay TV subscribers for $5 a month on top of your Comcast subscription. You will get access to AMC shows in the app, which you already get with your Comcast TV Anywhere login, but you won't get commercials, and you'll have some deleted scenes, and they say maybe sometime they'll even have original episodes that you'll only be able to get into that app. In addition to that, NBC is saying, hey, we do a lot of soccer on our broadcast networks, on our cable networks. We're not putting those in an app, but the games that we don't put on TV, we'll sell those to you now. You used to be able to log in and get those free with your TV Anywhere login. Well, now we'll charge you $50, but you won't need the cable subscription. So if you don't get NBC stations, at least you'll get all the soccer games we didn't think were good enough to be put on our broadcast or cable networks. There's also the fact that CBS All Access is out there with 1 million subscribers. Facebook is agreed to stream a dozen Champions League soccer matches. So I don't know. There's a bunch going on here, but particularly the AMC app where they're like, let's sell commercial-free versions of our shows to people already paying for our shows, and then NBC sort of selling the scrapings to people now.
Tom, I've got a sincere question for you.
Yes.
How much do you reward your dog when your dog poops as close to the door as possible, but still technically on the rug?
I was like, you mean as close to the door so I don't have to walk too far into the yard?
No.
But you're saying from the other side of the door.
Until now, your entire life, the dog's
get
only pooped in the middle of the road.
And carry you out in the backyard to show you where you're supposed to do it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I got to tell you, though, it's like as a reward-based human, I want to applaud AMC for thinking right. And to be honest, as a devil's advocate, okay, let's rephrase what they're saying. And let's take off the table the whole fact that, like, all of cable is totally screwed. Any kind of cable thing that gets you AMC, you're paying a screw job deal, and you should be mad at the idea of them asking for $5 on top of that. But if we're talking about the difference between regular AMC, however you're getting it, and AMC without ads, I think you could talk me into that being worth $5 a month.
I mean, you totally nail it, right? Hulu does this. What's the difference? Hulu says you can pay this much with ads. You can pay this much without ads. CBS All Access does this. Pay this much. The only problem here and the only difference is AMC says, but the only way to get it is to pay this other gigantic fee to this other company.
Well, and that's the problem. In a more perfect situation, this would only be marketed and we'd only be hearing about it if we are already subscribers. For example, let's say however you get there, you're now in the clubhouse of people who watch AMC programming. If AMC was able only to talk to them and say, hey guys, for $5 a month, you can watch all this no ads. That seems totally fair and totally approachable and something that we would all agree is a great thing. But because we're hearing about this on the outside, because we're out here with, hold on, let me get this straight. You're saying to get into your clubhouse, I got to buy cable, and then on top of that, pay $5 a month?
I mean, we have PlayStation View, right? So we can do this. We could log in with our PlayStation View thing and do this. Theoretically, they're only starting it with Comcast subscribers, which means if you're not in a Comcast area, you're also left out. But let's just assume that test goes well with Comcast. They bring it to everybody. Does that change the calculus? If you're like, oh, well, I do subscribe to Sling TV, PlayStation View, and now I'm just going to throw an extra $5 to AMC so that I don't have to DVR stuff and fast forward. I can just watch it on their app with commercials taken out.
I am shocked to realize how much of my programming exists only on FX and AMC and FXX, because Always Sunny in Philadelphia moved to FXX and all that stuff.
But still in that FX family.
But my point is no, for AMC by itself, I'm not going to pay $5 a month. But if a slightly better AMC, something that could promise me Better Call Saul and Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Fargo and, and yes, this is a fantasy I am constructing for myself, but my point is that it's not very far from where we are right now, right?
Yeah.
We're shockingly close to this.
I looked at this and I'm like, okay, is this AMC testing the waters to provide an HBO Now type service where they're like, hey, cord cutters, there's now AMC Premiere, which we've been, getting up to speed by selling this commercial-free version of Comcast, but now you can pay whatever, $10.
Okay, hold on.
Let's get AMC shows.
Let's explore this space. Let's say the offering is everything AMC ever. All of the back catalog of Mad Men, all the back
everything
catalog.
Everything they still have rights for, Breaking Bad,
Better Call Saul, all the Walking Dead stuff for $8.99 a month. Seems pretty reasonable at that.
Now, is it $8.99 with commercials and then $13.99?
No.
As soon as
just saying, look, trust me, nobody at AMC is in love with commercials. Any time that you see anybody putting up with the commercials, it's not because they actually love it. It's because that's the structure they inherited.
Well, no, and Hulu puts commercials in because it's extra monetization. So, I mean, believe me, nobody loves commercials. But if they're like, hey, we can get a subscription fee and commercials, they're going to do it. They're going to try it.
I've totally given up on believing that that Hulu with commercials exists anymore. Like in my mind, I mean, it's like
you're looking for the evidence.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Show me the proof.
No. What it is like, I remember the day that Hulu announced there's only one option, and that's to pay this amount and have no commercials. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And then it's like, do you remember the other reality where the other thing exists and there's still commercials? I was like, nope, because I'll never see it with these eyes.
But man, I mean, I was in a place at one point in the 90s where if this had existed, I might see myself paying for the Hulu with commercials because I really wanted to watch something. Maybe it's Handmaid's Tale, but I needed to save every dollar, right? So it is that kind of mid-tier bargain.
I am
price.
not saying that I am right. I am saying that's where I'm seeing the world right now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and what do you think of this NBC? Because this NBC offering has a similar psychological profile. If you're a TV Anywhere login on the NBC app, you got these extra games in the past, and you're probably one of the few people who cared, and you're like, cool, I get these extra games for free. This is a nice bonus. And now they took that away and said $50, please.
I'm going to I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't know if this is true, and maybe this is something that the fans could write us at cordkillers@gmail.com and propose scenarios that will break this rule. But I'm going to say, in general, I think I like it the most when we don't pretend that I want something that maybe I don't want. And instead, we only point to the exact parts of the buffet that I want and say, oh, this part, $5. This part, $7 a month. This part, $50 a year. I think I prefer that. And I'm sure there's a million examples you could dig up of me saying otherwise. But right now, I don't begrudge them for carving that out and realizing, oh, this is a more valuable part of the roast.
And my guess is they looked at it very practically and said, of our cable subscribers, this very, very few watch these extra matches. And we have found in surveys a demand for the ability to just buy them a la carte because they don't log into our app. And $50 is the price point for that. We think we can get it, right? Otherwise, they don't do it if they don't think they can get it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things that I've given up on is the belief that anybody is talking to me as a person, and instead the realization that they're speaking to me as a demographic. You could point to the 42-year-old magician demographic and say, you have failed to watch enough Fargo at $2 an episode. Therefore, the only way to make more Fargo is they're now $7 an episode. And I will say, well, I know I certainly have shown up as much as I can and have bought everything I could, but I understand that my demographic has failed you, and therefore I will accept your new price.
Well, yeah, because they're not talking to you ever. They're not talking to any one person ever.
Right.
They are always looking at not even just your demographic. They're looking at all the demographics, and they're saying, okay, where are the people consuming it, and what's the price point at which we consume it?
Yeah, so I guess it sounds like a very un-Brian thing to say, but I'm okay with all of this.
You know what? I am too. I don't expect companies to be – I feel like when companies pretend like they're talking to just me, that bothers me more than when they're just like, make your decision. I'll decide if I got to pay for it or not.
Yeah. There's a whole tangent I want to get in on.
Yeah. All of a sudden we're doing an entirely different show. But yeah, I think these are interesting experiments. And the reason I put them together, all of these, is it does show that every network is out there going, yeah, so this whole delivering all of our shows through cable and getting all of our money from cable ain't going to stick around. We need to start figuring out, what's going to work outside of that model.
I guess I think that's the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that we've entered the phase where there's increasingly or decreasing reason to bother to put up this Dance of the Seven Veils, to pretend as if everything's fine and that we really do care about piracy and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, okay, we can all have an honest conversation now because none of us are going to pretend like your investors are going to depend on you relying only on cable revenues from now on.
Well, let's have an honest conversation about the Cordkillers Spoiler in Time tournament. Brian, we are in week 2 now, and big thanks to Bryce Castillo for putting together the round 2 voting. Deadwood.
Hold on, real quick. I just feel like we got to let everyone know. First of all, you can support the show by going to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Go for it. Yeah.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers is where you support the show. One of the benefits is you get our discussions about the content that we watch in a show called Spoiler in Time. And we're just about to wrap up. One of the shows that we are watching is Justified. We're just about to wrap it up, and we want another legacy show, something that has, give or take, completed its run that we can experience to share on the show. So we're doing a Final Four tournament, or I guess
Final Eight.
Sweet 16.
Well, we're down to 4 now.
Okay, we're down to 4 now. Whatever. We're now at the Final Four because the votes are in. Talk us through it, Tom.
So Deadwood and Black Sails won in their regionals, and they are facing off now. And the other two are Babylon 5 and Firefly.
Okay.
And the winner of each of those, so Babylon 5 versus Firefly, Deadwood versus Black Sails, will go on to face each other next week. And then by whoever is in front on Monday morning, well, maybe Sunday night, so we have a chance to maybe watch the first episode. We'll have to figure that part out. Whoever wins this tournament will be what we watch next after Justified wraps up.
Okay, there's a million things I want to say, but that'll be too long, so we're going to save everything for a spoiler in time. Just know that the first round of voting has already happened, and right now it's going to be, Babylon 5, Firefly, Deadwood, or Black Sails as our next watch thing. Please vote. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Let's talk about how to watch. Roku has been banned in Mexico, Brian.
Go on.
That's it. You'll never be able to buy another Roku in Mexico.
Okay. Here's a new bit called Brian Tells the Story as he imagines it based only on a headline.
Okay, yes.
And then I
like this. I like this.
Tom tells me how close I am. Okay. Some import-export tribunal that's in charge of deciding what does and doesn't get a tax glop and allows it to be in a thing was pressured by industry groups, content providers, saying that Roku makes it too easy to steal content because, well, if you have a Roku, you could just watch anything from anywhere, not realizing the irony that what they're basically describing as a laptop. But in that some group to make hay wanted to look good and please some people by announcing that Rokus would not be allowed under some dumb tariff thingy.
Okay, so you're wrong about the trade part of it. And so you're wrong, and therefore you're wrong about who's doing it. But the underlying logic, you pretty much have right. So here's what's happening. Cablevision, which is owned by Televisa in Mexico, sued Roku because hackers are using Roku's test application system to provide pirated streams to people on Roku. So to back up a little bit, Roku makes available a test app market. Every platform does this. iOS has Test Flight. Android has APKs that you can sideload. All of it. So anybody can do
by the way, to be clear,
test version of an app on a platform.
So this is basically an unregulated, anything goes kind of wild side to an app store.
I mean, no, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be, I'm developing an app and I need to test it. I don't want to submit it to the store yet because it's not ready. Let me put it on this test server, and I'll send my compatriot beta tester a link so that they can try it out and give me feedback.
But then meanwhile, pirates and schemesters are saying, well, I never intend to make this a real app, so I'm only going to make it to stream Wolverine 24/7, which is content I don't own, but I'll put it on the test store because everybody who's cool knows.
And there's no test store. You just put it on the test server, and then you send the link, and Roku would never know you've done it unless someone points it out and goes, hey, wait a minute, this is actually a piracy app. And Roku says, look, if somebody points out these things, we take them down. We get rid of them. And so what Cablevision won in court was saying they haven't locked down their test servers enough. They need to be doing more to stop these people from doing it. And the court said, fine, until they figure that out, no more Rokus for sale in Mexico.
Okay. This is a great moment. One of my favorite moments on the show are when I ask you a question and I don't know what the answer you're going to give me is going to be.
This is one of the most frightening moments for me. Carry on.
Do you feel like it is incumbent upon Roku to make that test space a protected space that fights against piracy? Is it not possible that they could say, no. Anyone can to what degree do you believe Roku is complicit in the piracy, given that it's their servers running the uploaded program that allowed the illegal stream of X, Y, or Z?
Yeah. I don't know the policies and procedures of the Roku App Store well enough to give a definitive answer on that. Because my general feeling, my gut reaction is, no, it's not Roku's fault if somebody figured out a way around their system. and the way it's working where, hey, if somebody points it out to Roku, they take it down. That's the way it's supposed to work. However, you don't run into these problems with other app stores very often. So there may be something going on with Roku that if I were to look at it closer, I would say, well, hold on. You mean you don't even have to create an account with Roku? You don't have to, get this kind of security feature in place? Well, of course, not doing that is going to leave the barn door wider open than other platforms. And then I might feel different. If there's some obvious things that they should be doing that they're not, then the court may be accidentally right. But in principle, no, I don't think Roku should have to go police every developer on their platform.
So it reminds me in a perverse way about my beef with both MP3 as a file format and FTP as a format of file transfer protocol, FTP as it were. Is it incumbent upon the people who write the FTP protocol to realize that this will make it astonishingly easy for people to transfer massive amounts of copyrighted content from one place to another? And is it incumbent upon them to bake into their operating system, to their protocol, the ability to instantly detect and block copyrighted or flagged content? And I think
a closer analogy would be an FTP program, not the protocol, right? Because Roku is an implementation, but I think your analogy would still hold.
Sure. But my gut is even if FTP was both the service and the product and the protocol and it was all in-house, I still feel like there's a place for responsibility for the individual user. And I felt ultimately it's up to the person who wrote the program that streamed Wolverine 24/7. He's the one that's responsible. It's not Roku's fault to the tune of let's try to shut down their company for making it or for having a service that could be used this way.
Put it this way. It is on Roku's servers, right? So Roku is hosting this content. And in that case, it's not just a protocol. It's not just a piece of software that they put out in the world and we can't be responsible for what someone else does it. They have some amount of control. And if this was malware, if this was, hey, people are putting apps on Roku that then, go in and steal people's credentials, we would expect Roku to go and do something to protect that. And they do. They have security systems in place to stop their apps from doing malicious things, right? So the question is, at what point do we hold Roku responsible for upholding the law about copyright infringement? And again, I think there are some very obvious things you do as a software maker that we're like, okay, yes, that makes it super easy. It's almost encouraging for anybody to come in and do something, and you can lock those down, and those are usually done. And if Roku's not doing them, they should.
Okay, but so you ready for this? Let me. Are you ready for this? I'm going to flip everything around because what we've essentially described is a very good case for safe harbor. It's not Roku's fault that somebody uses the Roku system to abuse, to violate the law any more than it's Onita's fault that you could take a sterling silver fork and jab it in the eye of your brother-in-law when you find out he was cheating on your sister or whatever.
I do think there's a difference between those two, but carry on.
But also equally, because now we're shifting the game. Now the game is you're Mexico, and you have some board of people who can decide something is and is not or whatever. No matter what words you use about safe harbor and whose job it is, blah, 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 you're looking at hard numbers in your country saying that 90% of everybody buying a Roku is buying it for the purpose of piracy. And now what you would like to do is you would like to pick up the phone and say, hey, Roku, knock it off. Please increase your safety protocols.
And
make it harder. Maybe they did. And then nothing changes. And then at some point, you're like, we have to send a message to Roku. We have to make it clear that this is not cool. I've told them on the phone. They didn't say anything was going to change. Let's say we just ban Rokus for 20 minutes and see what happens. So I don't know. Weirdly, I could see both sides of this one.
Yeah. And if anybody out there develops Roku, and I know there's people in our audience that do, and you've got some insight into like, yeah, I've always thought it was weird that I could get away with doing this. Or if you're like, no, this store is really locked down. I don't see the problem. Let us know. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Also, you found a tool on Reddit where somebody has created a movie database combining Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, Letterboxd, and Metacritic stores with the availability on Netflix and Amazon Prime. Now, it's just movies. Bryce and I were trying this out before the show, and we were using TV shows and going, this tool's broken, before we realized, oh, wait.
Those are
the problem
TV
exists
shows.
between keyboard and computer.
Yeah.
It is only for movies, but once you put in movies, then it works.
Yeah, I just ran across this. It was on the front page of Reddit today. Cinesift.com, that's CINESIFT. For example, let's flip a couple of switches. Let's say, well, in this case, we're looking for a specific one. You could type in a specific movie, so it has a bit of the features of, like, can I stream it and stuff like that. But for me, it was fun for discoverability, because what I did was I turned on Amazon Prime and Netflix, but I did not turn on DVD. And then let's set the year to, 1960 to 1987 or so, give or take, right? Mm-hmm. And then we'll set it to, how high do you want to set up the critic review level?
Over 150. We want good stuff.
That's the number of critic reviews. So this means it's been around and a lot of people have seen it. But I think it's under advanced options. But sure, let's go ahead and do this. So in this case, anything that's been reviewed more than 150 times from 1960 to 1987, and it will pop up. There we go, and we'll set the average rating basically over 61. And there you go. Now I'm curious what we're going to see. What do you think we're going to see?
A few more seconds.
Hold on. Nothing found. Oh,
there are no good movies.
Oh, there we go. Now okay.
Right. We didn't have the. We had it.
So obviously a work in progress.
Yeah. I think some of the kinks are probably. Oakja wasn't in there yet. For
it
instance.
Also could be that we did not have a search term.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I set it up and
amateur tool.
For example, I found it popped up just randomly, like, hey, Full Metal Jacket. I wanted to know what the top rated everythings were. So it's like Full Metal Jacket is on both Amazon Prime and Netflix, I believe. And so I was like, well, I'll be the judge of that. And sure enough, there it was right there on Netflix. I like it. Right. I like it from what I've seen so far.
So 1 out of every 10 of you, so you don't bring down the site, go and check it out at cinesift.com.
Exactly.
CINESIFT.com. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
It's all about location. Under Surveillance.
Now, the Rick and Morty Season 3 trailer came out. Of course, Rick and Morty coming back on July 30th. And I overheard you talking to Justin about this, Brian. It seems like you noticed something about this trailer.
Well, number one, an awful lot of it comes from the one episode that was already leaked, which maybe I love. And as Justin accurately pointed out, the purposes of trailers is to cause you to watch a thing. And once you've already decided that you're in, there's not a lot to get stoked about trailers about outside of, ruining your own surprise, right?
The reason I watch trailers a lot of times is not because I need to decide whether to watch something. It's because I want to get myself even more excited. I want to find out those little bits. And like for this, Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick was the thing that was like, yes, there's more Pickle Rick coming. I can't wait.
Yes. Also,
not more Pickle Rick.
I was about to say, like, did I forget?
Yeah.
You remember
episode? That whole second season, Pickle Rick? No, yeah. But I'm like, that's the kind of thing I enjoy. Good. I'm glad to see it. It gets me pumped up.
I'm very, very excited that we're getting closer. And there almost seemed something a little bit kind of perfunctory about this phase of the promotion, where it's like, hey, here's the part where we got to show you a trailer. Hope you'll understand half the trailer is crap you've already seen before. Trust us, it's coming. It's going to be great.
Now, Sense8, of course, we talked about being canceled on Netflix, and the outcry from people who liked it and wanted it to continue, and Netflix saying there weren't enough of you to justify that. Well, Netflix is going to make a 2-hour episode to wrap up the story. So this is a thing that Netflix has the flexibility to do, which I find very interesting, Brian, which is not enough people to keep this going, but guess what? We can justify the expense of just going back and finishing the story because that will please enough people to make that worth it.
There's something about this that I deeply adore and actually makes me think of, and forgive me, I'm going to maneuver this to make it kind of an ad for what we do over at Scam Stuff. As we take on new people on the team, people encounter like, oh, this order went bad, or this person expected it to be this way, it's something else or whatever. Like this game of like, okay, what can we do to make somebody utterly delighted? And it ranges all the way from send them a brick of gold bullion, which would probably be effective, but not scalable, to a perfunctory sorry bro email, which would be very cheap but not very effective. And instead, like, my favorite moment are those moments where it's like, well, we could do this and this will probably make them feel pretty great, and it doesn't cost us much. All it takes is effort and energy. And I feel like this is what is happening in this case, right?
Yeah,
it's like
and a broadcast network can't do this because their budgets are tight, their schedules are tight, and they're like, we won't be able to sell advertisers on that. We can't turn on a dime and just create a 2-hour episode. That's right? Difficult.
But instead, they are able to do this. They say, what do we have at our disposal? Well, we've got the actors. They're all under contract. They all know that something is. We've got enough money to spend it on something frivolous. Let's say it's $100,000 special thing where it's like, hey guys, all things being equal, all you actors, would you rather have a button on the end of this project that all of us put years into, or not have a button? Oh, you would? Great. Can we all do it really cheap, knowing that it'll only show up on Netflix, but it will make fans happy? Great. Like that, I don't know. That makes me so happy because it gets the most out of a crummy situation.
And it takes the sting out of it and makes Netflix look like, no, really, you guys, it just wasn't enough to keep going on full seasons. But it's not that we don't love you. And
right?
So here,
right? Yeah.
have this 2-hour finale. And it's like, yeah, we know wrapping up the story is really important. And we would have done another season if we could. But since we can't, here you go. First episode of Forces of Destiny is out on Disney's YouTube channel. This is the new Star Wars animated series. First episode features Rey on Jakku with BB-8 and Rey voiced by Daisy Ridley.
Wow. The advice I give to everybody who's getting started in any kind of medium is be nice to everybody, because you don't know who will be a legend in the future. Like, imagine how amazing it would be if you're like, oh yeah, no, this is all voiced by Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or whatever. It's like the only reason it's amazing is because they've gotten so big since then. When they started, they were, just beginning. And so on the one hand, like it's going to look amazing 20 years from now that Daisy Ridley, who's a white-hot phenomenon, is going to be amazing. I'm glad she's loaning her voice to this at this point.
All right, let's check in with Mr. Ayaz Akhtar to find out what you'll be able to watch on the internet in July.
July is here. Here's what's new to watch online. On July 18th, Netflix brings Rogue One, a Star Wars story, online. That's kind of huge. That Disney-Netflix deal's looking pretty good. On July 7th, Netflix has an original animated series called Castlevania. It's based on the game series, and it's written by Warren freaking Ellis of Transmetropolitan fame. On July 14th, Season 1 of Friends from College hits. It's got a lot of star power with Kobe Smulders, Keegan-Michael Key, and Billy Eichner. And yes, the rumors were partially true. Seasons 1 through 6 of Futurama are offline on Netflix as of the 1st of July. However, Seasons 7 through 10 remain. Over on Amazon Prime, the second season of Mr. Robot goes online starting on July 13th. Both Prime and Hulu picked up 9 Star Trek movies in case you want to binge on July 1st. Also on July 1st, the TMNT trilogy goes online at Hulu. That's the original Ninja Turtles, The Secret of the Ooze, and the third one, We Pretend Never Happened. Hulu also let us know what's leaving in July. Say Goodbye to the Addams Family, Addams Family Values, and Coming to America. They leave Hulu on July 31st. If you want to know more, you should really check out cnet.com/netpicks. I'm Ayaz, and I'll see you later.
Thank you, Ayaz. Go check out cnet.com/netpicks, though. That is no joke. Ayaz keeps you up to date. Brian, what are you watching?
A little bit all over the map. Justified, we'll talk about. Preacher Part 2, of course, came out after we shot last week. And the next episode, this is going to be another one. I guess they're on Monday nights. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, it sounded like that's the new schedule. So yeah. We'll always be
way behind on that. But in the meantime, I appeared on Junk Food Cinema with C. Robert Cargill and Brian Salisbury. Had a fantastic time. If you haven't checked out their show, make sure to do so, because we spent a full hour breaking down all that is right and wonderful about the Verhoeven piece, RoboCop 1987. Hot damn, that's a great movie. damned if it doesn't stand up, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good to hear because I have fond memories of it, but they are very hazy memories because it's been a long time.
There's a significant amount of retrofuturism in there, and especially the stuff they were talking about. It's hard to remember crime being as bad as it was in the late 80s, given that we've entered this kind of, by and large, great peace over the last 30 years and so on.
Good stuff. Also, we're going to talk about Okja. The Netflix movie on Spoiler in Time, which I just finished watching moments ago. I also watched Preacher and got a chance to see Spider-Man Homecoming at a premiere because of my wife getting me in. And
so naturally, you're going to give us all the specifics about the exact ending of the movie.
So it starts with Spider-Man coming home.
Ruining everything. You're ruining everything, Tom.
No, the question is funny. When I tell people that I've seen this, the big questions I get are, how is it, right? It's good. How Marvel is it? It's very Marvel. And how good is Tom Holland? Tom Holland is great. He is a fantastic Spider-Man, which you probably know from seeing Captain America Civil War, but what you saw there continues in Spider-Man Homecoming. If I have criticisms, it's a little bit with some of the scenes just being good, not great when it comes to some of the action, but it's enjoyable by any stretch.
And for the record, I think there's a decent chunk of the populace, and for me, I certainly entered that crowd once I started going to the Alamo Drafthouse, where I knew no matter what, the new baseline was I was going to have a pizza that I would enjoy and a couple of beers. And it's at that point, just don't make me regret giving my dollar vote to the movie. And if I know for a fact that Homecoming is going to be good, that's good enough for me. I'm happy to go. I know what I'm doing that with that weekend.
The other thing I want to make a quick mention of is the Doctor Who series finale. There is one more episode coming out at Christmas, which will feature Peter Capaldi, but this is the end of his run, and they did a fantastic job with these last couple episodes. I think this was definitely Peter Capaldi's strongest season. It's Stephen Moffat's strongest season in a while as the showrunner, and this last episode was fantastic. So if you were wondering about whether to dip back into Doctor Who, I certainly think there's a few episodes you can look at the descriptions and decide whether you want to watch them or not. I think Pearl Mackie does a fantastic job all season long as Bill, but the very last 2 episodes of the season I recommend watching.
Aren't they running out of new Doctor slots? I assume they'll write a MacGuffin of
They already did that.
Okay.
They wrote a thing where they're like, the limit, that was enforced by Gallifrey, and since there's no more Gallifrey around to enforce it, the Doctor can do whatever he wants. So I'm curious how they're going to play that out in practice.
I mean, that's not bad, but I was kind of hoping it would be more 13 Doctors, that fills the one crystal, but that's the only one, and this crystal better be taken care of, and now you're on your last life for reals, Doctor.
Yeah, they haven't done it that way, but it'll be interesting to see what they do in the Christmas special, because he started to regenerate in this finale and doesn't, because he's going to be back in the Christmas episode, so I don't think that's much of a spoiler to say. So what's going to happen in the Christmas episode is going to be very interesting to watch. What have you been on the lookout for, Bryce?
Hey, guys, we got a letter from Dave from Denver who sent along this pick about a show that premiered earlier this year. He writes, "Hey, guys, I wanted to give you a heads up about the new show Beyond on Freeform." This is what ABC Family used to be. It's a fun metaphysical sci-fi show that centers on a kid who wakes up after being in a coma for 12 years with unexplained superpowers. While it's not the best show in the history of ever, it's a fun show with cults, conspiracies, metaphysics, and it serves as a good sci-fi entry point. Freeform has made the ballsy choice to not only make the entire season available for streaming from their site and apps with authentication, it's also up for Hulu subscribers as well. Keep up the amazing work, Dave from Denver, Colorado. I watched the trailer for this today, and it looks pretty good for one of these young adult, family friendly sort of shows. I think it looks pretty interesting. They even got the first episode up for free on YouTube as well. But you can see a season of Beyond on Hulu and the Freeform app and website now. A second season was greenlit earlier this year, so that'll probably come out early 2018.
Hey, folks, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Folks, Brian and I do all kinds of things. You heard him talk about the Scam Stuff store earlier on the show. And we like to tell you about the other things we're doing to allow us to continue to doing all this good stuff. And one of the things that I do is write some books. So check out Pilot X if you like the time travel stories. I've had a lot of people tell me very nice things about this book, so don't take my word for it. Go read the Amazon reviews.
Tom, hold on. Don't undersell yourself. I am looking at Amazon
No, I'm
right
letting
now.
other people sell it for me. Like, they're giving it lots of stars.
Okay, I was about to say 4.5 stars with 151 reviews is phenomenal. Like, that is a watershed moment on Amazon reviews. That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I am incredibly proud of that. And at Nerdtacular, there were a bunch of people who had copies of the book that they wanted signed and saying that they felt it was a classic science fiction story and they loved the characters and they loved the story. So check it out if you haven't already, Pilot X, wherever books are sold or at TomMerrittBooks.com. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
The Tableau USB dual tuner dongle is available now for $70. We talked about this when they mentioned it at CES earlier this year. The device plugs into an antenna and then into an Android TV box, like maybe the Shield TV, and it gives you an instant DVR. Guide data is free for the first 6 months after you buy one, and after that, it'll cost you $4 a month or $40 a year.
Meanwhile, Twitter will broadcast the opening preview night from San Diego Comic-Con in partnership with IGN. Twitter is also streaming Wimbledon coverage, like interviews and highlight reels, but no live matches this year. This continues my trend, Tom, of constantly thinking Twitter's doing exactly what I want them to do, but also suspecting that it's not making them a ton of money.
Yeah, it's like last year they were able to get ESPN's feed of Wimbledon. This year they're partnering with the All England Tennis Club, but they're not getting any of the live matches. So it's getting more competitive out there.
So what do you like? To me, the real coup on this would be if there was less red carpet footage from Comic-Con, but instead, like if Twitter was able to secure, like, look, you know, whatever you show here, somebody's going to do a crappy bootleg of. Why don't we just, we could cut you a check. You could boo-hoo about the fact that your trailer released early, but you'll have $1 million of $1 bills to dry your tears with.
Well, I mean, it's Comic-Con HQ. Comic-Con HQ is going to do that, is supposed to do that. Just partner up with them, right?
Yeah.
We'll send a bunch of people to Comic-Con HQ to subscribe. Let us use the video. Everybody wins.
Agreed.
Hey, streaming service Boomerang is now available on the Apple TV, as you actually heard at the beginning of this show when I was talking to April. It also added its first original series, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, man, congratulations to them. And meanwhile, NBC's iOS app now works with Apple's single sign-in or sign-on addition to its Apple TV app. Users only have to sign in once to be signed in across all devices linked to their Apple TV. Is this?
It was a little janky before because you'd sign in on the Apple TV, but it wouldn't sign you in on your iOS. Now it doesn't matter where you sign in; you're signed in everywhere, and you get access to all the apps.
I was thinking about this. How long of an extension for a complete unrelated side jag do you think we can get into?
I think today. I don't know. What do you got?
All right, give me 1 minute.
Yeah,
I was thinking about like single sign in of everything and how difficult it is. You got mobile devices where you put your thumbprint on and maybe it recognizes, maybe it doesn't. You got the camera that's supposed to recognize your face or whatever. But I was trying to think of like what would truly be impossible to fake. And I realized, what about a close-up of just the skin around your eyes? And it asked you to express an emotion, like smile. Think about your daughter being born, and then you smile, and it recognizes those exact wrinkles in that exact. I don't know. There's something about this.
That would be something to test to find out if suggested response is unique enough to differentiate.
Right.
Because if it is.
Because it's not the same as saying, be happy or pretend to be happy or whatever. Instead, it's like, no. Think this memory and let us examine the micro expressions that come unbidden to your face.
Right. And that's something you could do now versus like, oh, sure, I could put some electrodes in your brain and read the exact pattern that happens when you remember your daughter being born. But that's a little impractical on your phone these days.
But certainly, like at that point, it's like, what? Maybe you got a life cast of your face at some point at a special effects shop. That's and then a puppeteer is able to exactly mimic the bittersweet sorrow that comes from remembering that you're gonna die someday.
The only
or whatever.
question is someone's face similar enough to someone else where they could mimic the same reaction, right? But if you can't, that's intriguing. Hey, Netflix announced Okja is being presented in Dolby's high dynamic range with Dolby Atmos sound. First of Netflix's movies to have Dolby Atmos. You have to have one of the LG TVs that interprets Dolby Atmos, or maybe Xbox One or Xbox One S. They can do it too. And Netflix original movies Blame, Death Note, and Bright will all be released in Dolby Atmos sound as well.
How much of this is I mean, this is an emerging, new decent quality standard. Seems like, I don't know, just announcing that it exists is vaguely good for the people who bothered to make it that way.
This is the kind of thing that you're saying, hey, I want to get the folks that are the influencers, right?
Yeah.
Like we all look at Scott Wilkinson and go, hey, what do you think the best hi-fi is? And then we take that seriously. So Netflix is saying, hey, we've got Dolby Atmos. We want all you folks who already have Dolby Atmos gear and care about this sound to try it out and hopefully tell everybody else like, oh, yeah, you haven't really watched Okja until you've watched it with Dolby Atmos going.
Ceso sold 2 of its original programs, My Brother, and Me, and Harmon Quest, to Otter Media, which runs streaming service Aggregate VRV. The shows will appear on VRV, but details of where and what plans the shows will appear on have not been confirmed. Decider sources say that other Ceso programs could be up for sale. Bryce, I know you're a fan of My Brother, and Me.
Yeah.
And I assume you've watched more Harmon Quest than I have?
Probably.
I only watched the ones that were outside of the Ceso paywall.
No, I watched probably 3 or 4 of them.
Okay, yeah.
I'm actually I am sad to see the first signs that Ceso might be going away, but I am very happy that both of these shows are able to find new homes ahead of that, because I think they're both good shows.
So, answer me this: how much do you think? And we're all wildly speculating here, but how much do you think Harmon Quest and My Brother and Me need a distributor, a network, a place to like?
I think that they are both kind of expensive shows.
Yeah.
To make, My Brother and Me is all on location and all sorts of packages and stuff, and then Harmon Quest is 80% animation, and neither of those come cheap, and so. They probably could front the money in some way, but
no.
The traditional.
You framed that perfectly, because I suddenly thought of the Modern Rogue and everybody who complains that we, are doing a Dollar Shave Club or a Rad Power Bikes ad, and it's like, I'm like, you guys don't realize how crap the money is from YouTube ad revenues,
right?
Like how unusably small, vanishingly small that is.
Yeah, these are both like adaptations of podcasts and podcast segments,
right?
But they are proper full shows and need full-length budgets. So and with Verve.
So for you, that's a bargain with the devil you're willing to take if it keeps the quality of the show up. Like, yeah, great, I'll join your whatever satanic clubhouse.
Just keeping the show happening at all. The fact that NBC let it go instead of like holding on to it and trying to find another way to slot it, giving it to Verve is a good sign that these shows are very. And part of this, part of the rumor was that this includes a Harmon Quest season that was already. Is either in production or was signed to be made.
Right.
So that show, at least, there's a good sign that will come back pretty.
I strongly suspect that Harmon Quest would do really well if it wasn't behind a paywall. I think it's the kind of thing that will appeal to a lot of people. And this is somebody.
I think it depends on what paywall, because I think Ceso is very specific, and I think there are some people who.
That's true. That's true. Anybody in the Ceso universe probably was already going to find it hilarious.
We talked about Verve earlier this year, which is like Crunchyroll and Rooster Teeth, and it had Ceso options.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's tying up a lot of niches together, and Verve having originals, but also being an aggregate source will be an interesting play for them.
I always thought it was weird that NBC did Ceso instead of NBC Comedy, right? Mm-hmm. And this makes me wonder, because this is Decider citing sources, and NBC's only saying, like, we're always looking for partners to monetize and maximize, right? So I'm wondering, is this a temporary move? Are they saying, let's get these to VRV, let's get these to Verve, and let them and make enough money out of Ceso so that we can convert this to a stronger NBC branded play.
Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. All right. Folks,
also, Bryce and I don't work for NBC, man. That's kind of weird for you to ask us.
Well, I wasn't asking you directly.
Oh, okay.
And now that you mention it, my wife does work for an NBC company. So. Let's move on to the dispatches from the front. Armando says, the idea of interactive TV has been floating around for some time and really only becomes a legitimate possibility with streaming or internet-provided content. Only recently has cable TV had the ability to achieve this, but also through an internet link to process viewer input. But streaming makes the most sense. I can certainly see this processing to the point you're watching a show or movie and are able to actively interact with the characters on the screen, especially by voice. We tell our Apple TVs, Amazon Fire TVs, Siri, Amazon Echo, etc. what we want now. So why couldn't we just yell, look to the left, or watch out behind you, or turn right at key points in a show? The possible increased level of engagement with the audience might help keep viewers watching more so than otherwise. So these first baby steps do make sense. He's referring to Netflix with their choose your own adventure stories if it hopes to catch on. And why not start with the kids? Get them comfortable with the simple versions now so that as they grow and the tech develops, they grow right along with it. There's also less of a need to take it to big screens now since these shows are being watched close up by the kids and they can just press their screens to direct the action.
So I don't know how this is going to go ultimately, but I'll tell you how the first step is likely to go, because I'll tell you this much. I don't want to assume any role of decision-making when I'm watching stuff on Netflix. I expect to watch another artist's work play out for me. Now, in a video game, the rules are different. I understand that my role is to show up as the lead actor, not knowing what my role is, what my name is, or what my marks are, but instead trying to experience and act out a fantasy. But I was thinking about horror movies. And what if there was no moment where they asked you anything, but instead you hooked yourself up to something that monitored your respiration, your heart rate, your blood pressure, and it knew, in general, it had a baseline of you watching a few other scary movies, and it had a doctor's note of how much you could take. There are tropes, stuff like timing, stuff like the classic cat scare, the fake out, these plot elements or whatever. People write these movies knowing that, okay, we assume the audience knows X, Y, and Z. That's why this will be a surprise. And if we hold off just this long, they'll think it's been too long and they're not going to be worried about. Like, would you hook yourself up to a machine that had a procedurally generated horror movie where what it executed was based entirely on constantly monitoring proxies for your attention, for your prediction of what was going to come next, and what you were scared of most?
I don't think you need a machine. I think you could do this non-invasively, which will be way more popular with people. Because, yeah, I would probably do it, to answer your question directly. But a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know, it's a lot of trouble, or I'm scared. But what if it's just, hey, there's a camera on your television right now already, and it can sense your infrared. It can read a lot about you. It can sense your facial
and by the way,
emotions. That's all technology that exists. And what if it did what you're talking about that way? And I like his idea of I don't have the burden of directing the story. The story's going to go on no matter what I do. But if I yell, look to your left, and the guy looks to his left, right? Like, yeah, you're in the scene with him.
Well, yes. Doggone it. I don't want to get us bogged down. I have other ideas about this. Remind me to come back to this at some point.
Also, Andy wrote in, this goes along with this, and said he thinks that the interactive storytelling basically belongs more in VR. What if Netflix takes their learning from this flat 2D viewing experience and commissions some 360-degree storytellers?
Meanwhile, Tony writes in saying, I want to offer a suggestion of what might be the potential service that could dethrone Netflix. As I was listening to your discussion, one thing kept being mentioned was the reason for the success of some of the current streaming services was their access to Disney content. So what happens if Disney, ABC, pulls all of their content out from existing services and instead launches it as exclusive to their own product? And to make it an even more intriguing proposition, the service could include original content focused from around some of the most popular properties, such as Marvel and Star Wars. Just imagine if they took a similar approach that has been used for Daredevil and applied it to the Star Wars universe. I could see a lot of people signing on. Basically, he goes on to describe, yes, what you're describing is the actual fantasy of every fan out there. Also, the actual stated goal of Disney, right? I think that's fair enough to say.
No, absolutely. And I don't think this is the Netflix killer. I think Netflix could survive. I mean, having the Disney movies is compelling right now, but Netflix's whole gamble has been, we'll be able to have such a great vault of original content that we created that it won't matter when we lose or gain these other deals, and they may be able to make other ones. So I don't know this is the Netflix killer per se, but it's certainly the Disney saver as the ESPN revenues dry up.
Sure.
Then we got Justin, who says, been wanting to see some of the YouTube Red content, Rhett and Link, Game Lab at least, and the kids watch YouTube a lot, as well as our typical family TV time is watching the YouTube channels we follow. So I bite the bullet for the free YouTube Red trial, and I want to make it a family plan sort of deal, and you can't. There's YouTube Red, which gives you access to Google Play Music, but no family option. But you can get Play Music Family, and then that gives you YouTube Red because reasons. Short-term solution, get all accounts on a free trial and then cancel where needed and sign up for the family plan in 3 months. I was hoping for a pay the difference plan, but it doesn't look like that's an option. I did email support and got a quick reply, which actually answered the question first go. So at least that's a plus.
Yeah, and keep in mind, whenever I hear something about that to me is less of an indictment of the service or the construct and more an indication of the level of growth that needs to be attained before stuff like that can be addressed. Like when you find weird cases like that, almost always it just means the service is smaller than everybody would like it to be.
Well, and that's absolutely true of Google Play Music. So.
Yeah. Mark says, hi, guys. I'm a big fan of both Cordkillers and Spoiler in Time, but curious as to why you guys always say Episode X, Season X, especially during Spoiler in Time. It's widely accepted that the most standard way to reference is season blank, episode blank. In fact, you even write them that way in the description, like when we say, for example, 309 at Justified 606, and so on. I know you've both commented that this is how you're supposed to do episodes, blah, blah, blah. Look, first of all, there's no right or wrong. There's no one way to do it, because if I was to hand you a letter and you lived right here in my neighborhood, I would say 3 houses down, go. I'd give you the house number. I wouldn't give you no zip code. And now if I was sending it into an intercontinental global system, you better believe I'm going to lead off like, hey, belongs in this zip code first. Just get it there. Then bother to look at the fact that it's this street and this house. I'm going to say that both are equally valid.
I never thought about it in that, to be honest. When we're speaking, we have different rules than when we're writing. Writing requires more precision. When we're speaking, my thing is, what's the thing that people need to hear first? And I feel like Justified, episode 5 of season 3, is about the same as Justified as season 3, episode 5.
No, it's not. It's superior, and here's why. If we were talking about Harry Potter, we would not say, we are reading Harry Potter, chapter 5. We would say chapter 5 of book 6, and everybody would know exactly where we are. You would not say, book 6, chapter 5.
I don't think it makes a difference because you're getting the information pretty quickly either way. So I'm curious if anyone else is bothered by this the way Mark is.
Also, let me tell you, my life was changed when I took the linguistics course, Languages of Science Fiction, to make me realize that there is no right way. Anytime anyone tells you there's a right way, they're all wrong. You can maybe get away saying a generally accepted way, but ultimately all you're really saying is, my preference is. And if everybody could acknowledge that, I think we'd all be better off.
Absolutely agree with that. And with that, we're done. Thank you all for writing in, for listening, for watching, for supporting us on Patreon. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on diamondclub.tv most Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and we will kill your cords next week.
Thanks for coming to Nerdtacular.
Woo!
Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
With you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.